To the Golden Sombrero Show. We are live on YouTube and on BlazeRadioOnline.com. I'm Dominic Stern, joined by my dear friends Ryan Blank and Cole Bradley. How are you guys doing on this fine Wednesday?
Doing pretty good. How about yourself?
Doing great. Ryan, how are you?
I'm exhausted, but other than that, I'm doing all right.
Yeah, I feel that. We're all like fully in Cronkite news now, like actually going out and reporting on stuff. So getting a lot better at journalists, but we're also getting a lot of fatigue. I was at TBC Scottsdale today, so that was a lot of fun. We're here to talk about the latest news in baseball. There's not a whole lot. Ryan, last episode we talked about the CBA talks and the Hall of Fame. We're of course going to talk more about CBA. What were your thoughts on the Hall of Fame voting? Let's jump into that first, and then we'll talk about the CBA.
To see what you think.
Bonds and Clemens should be in.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. You're trying to just erase a part of history. And you know what? I think that when you're looking at stuff like this, especially with Bonds, a lot of the damage, per se, and a lot of his career and a lot of the success that he had came before the alleged steroids. And I think that's something that you also have to value in. But the man has the most home runs in MLB history. I think that it comes to a point where you have to look at the era, you have to understand what he did for baseball, he should be in. And same goes for Clemens. I think that, especially with Big Poppy getting in, you're going to let Big Poppy, who had a positive steroid test, get in, but not Bonds. I don't get it. But I think both gentlemen should be in. And I think that's ridiculous that despite being on the ballot for 10 years, that they're still not on is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely a puzzling thing. The writers definitely have their own narratives that they want to vote along with. It's definitely a little bit frustrating, but it's definitely something that baseball fans are going to be frustrated with for a long time. There's also going to be some baseball fans who are in support of it, and there's a lot of former players who felt like their careers were cheated because some of these players who were taking steroids, they had an unfair advantage over them. And Ryan, I mean, do you acknowledge that? I mean, I agree with you, but there are two sides of it because at the end of the day, these guys did cheat.
Yeah, there are two sides of the argument, and there's going to be. And yeah, some players' careers were definitely damaged due to some players taking steroids and due to the steroid era. But there's also players that kind of absorbed it and said, you know what? I'm going to go out and prove that despite these guys being juiced up, I'm going to go and still dominate and get those guys out. And I think that there are still guys out there as well who, despite going against players like Bonds and Clemens, had great careers.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I understand that there's a side of it and that a lot of players' careers were definitely damaged by it. But there's also the players that kind of absorbed it, understood the era, and still were able to do some great things. So it's both sides, but I definitely do understand that.
Yeah. I mean, Cole and I, we already give our thoughts. If you want to hear those, well, I would say they're on YouTube, but they're not. So, anyways, let's
travel back in time last week.
Yes. Let's talk about the labor update because the players and the owners, they met on Tuesday. If you're hearing this on YouTube, we were talking on Wednesday. And I mean, there was very little progress made. There had been progress made in previous meetings where the sides had at least expressed what they had wanted. This time around, there was no progress. Cole, let's go to you this time. I mean, what did you think of everything that went down on Tuesday?
Well, kind of like you said, I mean, nothing really happened from what it sounds like. So, I mean, there's nothing really to think, I suppose. I guess they're still stagnant with where they're at, especially on the financial side of things. I think that's really all they're working on at the moment, and deservedly so, because I feel like once they get past that, it actually might be pretty smooth getting all the rest of the stuff out of the way. I feel like they're pretty they see eye to eye with a lot of the operational and like game level stuff that they want to implement into this new CBA. There might be a little bit more negotiation, but I think the big issue lies in finding a common middle ground with this whole financial stuff. So that's just really all it's about, I think. And unfortunately, it sounds like, spring training is real. Like, as if it wasn't in jeopardy before, it sounds like it's really in jeopardy now. It probably is at bare minimum going to get delayed. And will likely just get dubbed over There may not be a spring training at all, in other words. And it just sucks. It sucks to see. Obviously, we've talked about it more than a few times over the last couple of weeks, but I guess just what's so, I don't want to say impressive, but just so daunting in a bad way about it, or demoralizing, I guess, is that, had they not had that period where basically, I think it was like 40 some days where they started the lockout and then they had finally their first negotiations, and there was some debating and just meeting going on and just some kind of public discourse going on during that 40 plus day period, then we probably would be in a better place now. I mean, theoretically.
Yeah, no, it all stems down to them just not wanting to talk,
right,
to try and get the other sides to cave in. It didn't work. It was never going to work.
No, it's not.
So,
and it stinks to see that. So, I mean, barring a miracle, it's like, it's batten down the hatches time. It's, we're probably not going to have a spring training. I honestly, that sounds super pessimistic, but look, if we're not really close right now, then goodness knows when we're going to be close. By the time we are close, it's probably going to be when things are a little too late. So again, kind of stinks to see. You just kind of got to hope for the best.
Looking at it, it's basically at the point of those 40 plus days where they didn't talk is going to be killer in the spring training aspect, because who knows how much longer you have a free agency as well. There are so many big names still not signed, and you got to allow time for that. There are players that purposely waited until after the lockout to sign a deal, and that's just going to delay spring training even more and potentially delay the season. At this point, I've said it for a while, and I think I've said it on our show a couple of times. I don't think there's going to be a spring training with MLB players, at least. They can still try to do spring training with minor league guys, which go ahead and try that. Yeah.
You can't just stop.
Yeah. And I think that's the route that they're going to have to go with, is having it just be minor leaguers, because looking at it this way, I think there's going to be a training camp like before the 60-game season. That's a few weeks before the season. The season's probably going to get delayed as well. And it's because of both sides being stubborn. In each lockout previously, you've seen that both sides have been quiet, trying to get the other to cave in. It's never worked. So why are you continually trying to do that? Those 40 days are really the difference maker in all of this.
Screw spring training. Now just work your hardest to not lose regular season games.
Yeah, get
like
the
that's
season.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing that's in jeopardy now. Is like, you don't want to lose games for your regular season,
because then you're gonna have to deal with tickets stuff and all that. You're gonna have to explain.
Yeah.
I mean, the casual baseball fan can say, "Oh, it's spring training, don't care."
Right.
Like us, we care for more reasons than one this year.
Oh yeah, there's multiple reasons for us.
It helps that you're in the market where it takes place.
Right, and that we'd actually be in spring training locker rooms this year because of the program that we're working with.
Yeah, exactly.
But I mean,
here's the thing, though. I've said it too, but the impact that potentially no spring training and maybe not even having big league players there, it's going to hurt cities like Surprise and all these areas that have teams, have stadiums, because that's where they get a lot of revenue, is having fans travel in during their kids' spring break and going to spring training games.
A big source of revenue just for the Valley every year has been spring training. That is amazing. That's been amazing for their economy. And I'm sure it's been the same in the various communities in Florida that host spring training as well.
Losing that is going to be killer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And unfortunately, I don't think the two sides are like, "Oh man, what a surprise Arizona going to do with us."
They don't care. Right. They only care about themselves in this argument.
Right.
And the thing is, it's all about the money at this point, because like Universal DH, for example, both sides want it. That's pretty much good to go. But it's that both sides are just so far off on money aspects that is what's going to drown this out way longer than it should. And that's the dangerous thing about all of it, is when will they finally come to an agreement on the money aspect of it all?
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys. I'm not concerned about the season quite yet, just because there's still nearly 2 months until the season starts. Now,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
obviously,
am.
you are. I mean,
It's just a free agency. Free
Right.
agency screws a lot of this up. It's not like the 60-game season where you didn't have to worry about free agency. You got to worry about free agency.
Right.
And that is why I'm starting to be really worried about the season. You know what? Spring training, whatever, at this point.
well,
Do not let the season be impacted by this.
well, Ryan, can I ask you a follow-up question to that?
Yes.
Are you concerned about like the play of baseball and like some teams, or are you concerned about the season starting on time? Like
Both.
what? Okay, it's both.
Both.
Okay,
Both.
because I was just wondering. Because
It's,
I mean, like,
it's not just season starting on time. I believe that also you saw players get impacted by going from 60 games to 162 injury-wise. If
Mhm.
they don't have enough time, like spring training gives them, to get their bodies
ramp up.
conditioned
Yeah.
No,
and
he's got a
ramped up,
point.
there's going to be a lot more injuries.
Right.
So it's not just free agency and stuff like that. It's also the play and the health of players and teams.
right? Because I mean, I think those two things are definitely separate concerns. Because
Yes.
the play, like you mentioned, if spring training is cut down, there will be some more injuries this year.
Definitely.
However, I'm not too like I do think the Major League Baseball is going to start March 30th. I felt that way. I'm not going to feel that way unless if nothing changes over the next 2 to 3 weeks, just because there's so much incentive for both sides to play baseball
Yeah.
starting on March
Yeah,
31st.
no, 100%. At the end of the day, what it comes down to is that as much as it may not seem like it, everybody wants the same thing. They want to get everything back on the field. They want baseball to happen, business as usual, as it should this year. The divide, again, doesn't make it seem that way. So, but it's really just going to come down to finding that sense of urgency and being like, hey, let's common ground here, gentlemen. Like, let's figure it out.
Right. So, I mean, it's going to be really fascinating to follow.
Yeah.
If there's anything to follow. I mean, obviously there is, but
It's just been minimal progress throughout. And
yeah.
there's got to be that one meeting where something big happens to where fans have hope that this thing will end soon. We haven't really gotten that
No.
Right.
big moment that could give us hope that the lockout could end soon. We need that moment. And hopefully that comes whenever they meet next, whether it's end of this week or beginning of next week. Something's got to happen soon.
Now, Golden Sombrero sources, might as well give someone who writes for East Village Times along with us. His name's Ryan. He says that a source that he trusts says there's going to be a deal done by Valentine's Day. I have zero recollection of whether or not I know this is true. This is just what someone else told me.
I can tell
That's
you one
why
other thing.
I am being very upfront about how legit I think this is. He claims everyone will be sources. I don't know why someone would lie about that, but that's just what I've been told.
Based off of the conversation I did have with Jeff Passon when I was back home before the start of second semester.
Yeah, let's flex on us real quick,
Yeah.
Ryan.
All right.
I have
You want to talk about a
it's,
source?
It's such an easy flex.
You want to talk about a source? Jeez.
But when I told him what I thought, he thought I was being very optimistic with how it was going.
Right, and I mean,
So-
he shocker. Jeff Passon knows more than us about Major League Baseball, but
Oh,
You heard it here
yeah.
first.
yeah,
breaking news, everyone.
this is the type of insight you get on the Golden Sombrero show on BlazerRadioOnline.com.
There are indeed people out there who know more than we do.
yeah, it's shocker.
It may come as a complete surprise, but it is the case.
But so I mean, and I was told this today. It doesn't change how I feel, but that's just what I was told. And kind of what Cole mentioned earlier, like the sides they know what each side wants. They know what each side agrees on.
Yeah.
And that's most of the like just baseball issues. Now
Yeah.
it's all money at this point. So.
Inevitably, this is going to end. It just comes down to timeliness and just lighting a fire under your backside and being like, let's figure this out as soon as possible, or else we're going to jeopardize, our regular season and probably the future of public interest in our game if it hasn't been jeopardized already. So
Right.
And here's the thing about it is when are both the sides going to be motivated enough to really hammer out the money and kind of have to take a sacrifice or two to get it done? When is that going to happen? Because it's going to come down to it at some point if they don't figure it out soon.
yeah, it needs to happen now.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a very simple solution. It's they meet somewhere in the middle.
Right.
Like it's not
Oh,
just going to
really?
be.
Oh, really don't?
I know, Ryan.
I think that both sides think that the other's just going to concede.
Right. I mean, it's obvious, but I mean, it's what they have to do. So like,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, the one monetary value that we got out of what happened yesterday was that Cole and I, we talked about last week how the players pool of the top 30-ish players for that haven't reached arbitration that are going to get some money. The players, they originally asked for 105 million. They brought it down to 100 million, guys. So
I'm pretty sure the MLB counter with like 10.
yeah, they counted with 10.
It was like an egregious counter. It almost felt like a bit, kind of.
Yeah.
Like they did it on purpose.
Yeah,
and it just kind of showed how far off they are money wise.
And I also saw that they changed it to 20 players instead of 30. So
oh wow,
that would be more money for the players. But if you're like that,
yeah, and that's a big drop.
Yeah, and if you're like that 25th player, you're like, darn, I
like
just missed out on a couple G's. So we'll see. We'll have another update. I mean, hopefully
we'll have another update next week.
Yeah. Right. Hopefully we'll have another update next week. For now, we got about 40-ish minutes until we got to get off the air. We have done our shortstop rankings, our second base rankings, our first base, and our third base rankings. We're going to move to the outfield now. And instead of going left field, center field, right field, we just decided to go with our top 15 outfielders. So you're really looking at center fielders and right fielders that's at least for my rankings. Couple left fielders in there, but
it's quit disrespecting a Royal.
Did you put Andrew Benintendi in there?
No, I didn't.
Good.
No, I did not. I just want to see your guys' reactions. I did not do that.
I was like,
I did not do that.
I was like, by my recollection, Alex Gordon does not play anymore.
No.
You see, I would say Gordon defensively, but
sure.
No. You guys know me with rankings. I'm a realistic Royals fan when it comes to this stuff.
Yes. Well,
I suppose. Yeah.
I suppose.
We'll see where you put Mr. Perez when you do our catcher rankings.
If he's not one, then it's a joke.
All right. Let's talk about some outfielders.
If he's not one, how about this? If he's not one or two, then we might have some issues.
Well, you'll have to wait till next week.
Yeah, I haven't made them yet. We'll see.
Next week could be a bloodbath.
It could, yes.
It really could be.
Just remember, you're in that room. Cole and I are in this one. All right.
I have access to that room.
You do, but we could block it. So it's all right.
Yeah, we could try.
Put a chair there. All right. Let's do it. We're gonna go from 15 down to 1.
Yep.
I'll actually kick this off. I'm gonna go with the 2019 NL MVP. I have Cody Bellinger here at number 15. Obviously, what he did 2 years ago was super impressive in the 2019 season. However, his last 2 years have been very subpar. I just had a hard time keeping the 2019 MVP out of my list, so I just put him in at 15. If you guys don't have him on your list, all power to you. That is completely fine because he's been really bad at the plate. Still a really good fielder, and I think that holds some value. So I put Bellinger at 15.
How do we want this to go? Cole, then me?
Let's just go Ryan and then Cole.
Okay, so I actually agree. I have him at 15, and it's because he still has a lot of value defensively, and man, is he clutch. In the playoffs, he always comes up with the big hit, and I think that also keeps him there, is that I also am buying into him having a much better year this year. So I have him at 15 as well, Dom.
So I, first off, completely agree with what you guys said. I'm going to be honest. I almost left him off. I actually was very, very close to leaving him off. I actually have him higher.
Okay.
Not by much, but I do have him higher. I wanted to preface with honorable mentions. I've done this the last few rankings just because, first off, this was very hard to do because the outfielders are very good.
Yes.
And especially the bottom 5 guys are interchangeable with a list of 20 other dudes.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very
rip them off. Rip it off.
Yeah, this is kind of one of those things where it's depending on the day and depending on how I feel. Anyway, honorable mentions: Chris Bryant is not on my list.
Yeah.
Byron Buxton is not, but he was dang close. Mike Yastrzemski, Trey Mancini, Joey Gallo, and plenty of others also did not make my list.
Okay.
Jesse Winker is my 15th, with that being said.
Okay.
It was hard to not keep him off this list, especially what he's done over the last 2 years. Just very consistent hitter from the left side of the plate. Not exactly eye-popping defensively. I don't really think he needs to be. I don't think that's why he's a Cincinnati Red. But I think he's, as a hitter, one of the more underrated hitters in baseball. I think he's been put on the map a little bit more these last couple years. But in 2019, 269, a little 830 OPS, like he can swing the bat. And the past 2 years, he's had an OPS plus of 139 in 2020 and 140 this past year in 2021. Like
He's good and consistent.
the bat speaks for itself. The slug is also there too. The slug pops off the page. The last 3 years, 523 slugging. That's huge. So yeah, massive bat. He's my number 15.
Yeah, Ryan, I'm actually going to jump in ahead of you because I have Winker at 14. So I'll jump in. I really like his bat. His club's really bad. That's fine because if you rake, it doesn't really matter.
Right.
So I have Winker at 14. I think he's proven that he's a consistent player. I mean, I remember watching him 2018-19 when he was coming up with the Reds.
Yeah.
Well, okay, this guy's got some potential to be a platoon bat, be a fringe starter. He's not that. I mean, he's kind of proven that he's up there. Ryan, do you have Winker on your list? Is he number 14?
Winker's on my list, but he's not 14.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
I have Buxton at 14.
Okay.
And here's the thing. I understand, Cole, why you kept him off because of injury concerns, but when that man plays, gosh, he is so talented. In, I believe, 61 games this year, he had 19 homers.
Yeah.
He's so good.
So
Last year in 39 games, he had 13 homers. He hit so well, and he's also a good defender, but you need his health to get a lot better. That's why he's low on my list.
the thing with me, and I literally sat there today, I was like, I really, 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 really want Byron Buxton in my top 15. Like, I want that.
Yeah.
But 187 games in 3 years is
It's so bad.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible.
It's not helping his cause.
Yeah, I agree. That's terrible. He needs to get that health way up. But when he plays, he is electric.
If he had those same numbers over a, say,
Yeah. I agree with you on that.
so it was hard for me to leave him off.
You'll see where I put him later.
Okay.
Because you guys know how I
Alright.
feel about injuries and when it comes to ranking players. So,
Yeah.
I have Buxton. Obviously, I mean, my friend on one of my other podcasts, I talk about baseball. He was talking about Buxton, and he was like, Buxton has played in like 50% of their games over the last 2 years or over the last 3 years. Like, he's like, he literally gets an F based on games, and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, like, yeah, but like Mike Trout plays in like 70%, and like
Yeah.
no one cares. So
Mhm.
like, I mean, it's a double standard in some aspect, but I mean, Buxton's an extreme case because he's never been healthy,
Yeah.
and well, at least when he's been like an elite player.
Mhm.
So like leaving him off is perfectly fine. I had him higher. Cole, let's jump to you.
Looking at his numbers, he's another guy who's really flown under the radar.
The lone bright spot of the Pirates.
Exactly.
Hey, keep Brian Hayes. Don't disrespect.
He was hurt a lot last year.
But he's still good.
They
He
used
is.
to have
He is.
Jake.
I was mainly referencing last
Yeah,
year.
when they had Jacob Stallings. But Brian Reynolds has been from as prototypical as a leadoff or top of the order bat as you can have, and they've sort of moved him more into the middle of the order now, and deservedly so. This guy does all of it offensively. He's an athlete out there in, I think he plays right field or
He plays center.
he plays center. There you
Center
go.
fielder.
And deservedly so. I don't really know too much about him defensively. Regardless, this guy's been an extra base hit machine ever since he came into the league. I mean, this past year, 35 doubles, 8 triples that led the league, by the way, 24 homers, 302 average. Last year, pandemic season, was really, really bad for him. Like really bad. 71 OPS plus. That's
Mhm.
not great. But a lot of guys had bad years last year. So he bounced back big time in 2021, was definitely one of the better outfielders in all of baseball this year. And received MVP votes too. Yeah, he's kind of flown under the radar. And like you said, one of the lone bright spots with this Pirates organization at the moment. So he's my number 14.
I also have Brian Reynolds a little bit higher on my list.
All right.
Ryan, gonna throw it to you. Skip me for a little bit. Who's your number 13 outfielder?
All right, I'm going to repeat that because I was muted. Thank you for pointing that out, Dom.
You're muted on YouTube.
Yeah, muted on YouTube. My number 13 is Jesse Winker. As you guys said, the offense is there. He has a great bat, and the talent is there to get better at the plate as well. Defensively, you can argue a liability. He's not a good defender whatsoever, but the offense and the power that he has definitely warrants him being on the list.
I like it. We're all in the same camp in terms of
Yeah.
Jesse Winker.
Yeah, he deserves the credit that we're giving him. He doesn't deserve that much more. Cole, I'm gonna throw it to you. Who's your number 13?
So for all the reasons that you kind of said, Dom, there were times where I was like, I want to leave him off my list because of how abysmal, especially this last year was. But I can't forget about the postseason this year and the postseason in 2020, where he was also pretty bad. And then, the 2019 season, which speaks for itself. So, and I mean, at bare minimum, the one thing that I think a lot of people tend to forget about Bellinger is how good of a defender he is. And so that alone is extremely valuable. And I think at least for the past 2 years has compensated for a lot of those struggles at the plate and is the reason why I keep him in this top 15 list. With that being said, if this meteoric slide continues in his performance,
He's done.
I don't even know, what you say. Like, I mean, he's just like, does he have the yips or something? Like, it's almost indescribable at this point.
Well, the weird thing about Bellinger was he was literally having an MVP season, and he did a swing change mid-year. And ever since then, like, he was able to hang on. His MVP run was carried by his first half of the year, which was truly like one of the best 90-game stretches of baseball we've ever seen.
Right. And then he cooled way off.
Yeah, he cooled way off. He only hit like 260 and like had a 360, which is good, and like a 500 OBP or 500 slug in the second half of the year. But his first half was so good that he still had a better season in the voters' eyes than Christian Yelich. And Christian Yelich also got hurt late in the year. But ever since he made that swing change, it has not gone well for him to play. He still has the power because, I mean,
absolutely,
you can do a swing change and you're still 6'4", powerful swing.
Right.
Yeah.
So Bellinger, he's an interesting case. My 13 is another former MVP, and he's a name that I just mentioned. I have Christian Yelich here at 13. I'm assuming that you guys have him a little bit higher than I do.
Yeah, same case though. I wanted to. Part of me,
he's
like,
a little bit higher for me.
Yeah, higher for me, but I seriously was like, I don't think it feels weird putting him here.
Right, because, I mean, just 2 years ago, we're talking about him as like the number 2 or 3 outfielder in the league.
And potentially being a 2-time MVP.
And his offensive drop-off has been less steep than Bellinger, but he doesn't have the defensive prowess that Bellinger has.
And it's been
So
and like you said, Cole, it's more noticeable for Yelich than it is for Bellinger because of the stacked lineup that the Dodgers have.
Yes, and I mean, we're all going to give respect to what Christian Yelich has done in 2 out of the last 3 full seasons.
Yeah,
winning an MVP and then finishing in second. Last year's haven't been great. He's been an average offensive player and an average defender, and that's why you see him here for me at number 13. Cole, I'm going to toss it to you this time. Your number 12 outfielder.
Oscar Hernandez.
Okay. All right.
And I think he's another one that's sort of flown under the radar, particularly over the last 2 years.
I agree with you on that.
MVP caliber each of the last 2 seasons, 16 home runs in the pandemic shortened season, 32 this past year. High 280s, 290s with OPS pluses of 146 and 133 respectively. That's pretty stinking good. Year before that in 2019 wasn't great, but each of the last 2 years have been very, very good for him. I think he's been more moved into the DH role.
Yeah.
So I kind of thought, I was like, is he out? But like, I mean, I
don't think we're going to be raking.
That is a primary position for him outside of that. So his bat over the last 2 years has been hard to sort of ignore. So I have him at number 12. Yeah,
12. He's a great hitter. I view him as a DH. I decided not to rank him here in the outfielders.
Okay. I have him in there, but if you said we're not ranking DHs, though.
Well, I mean, it's just, if you want him in here, I'm not going to tell you to change your rankings.
So my question is.
That'd be tyrannical of me.
So I have a question. is there any argument to put Shohei on this list? If we're not ranking DHs?
I personally did not think about
No.
that.
I didn't either until Dom said it. So I don't have him on my list.
Well, but he played like 6 innings of outfield last year, so like
Right.
you're really
That's
doing,
true. Yeah,
If anything, I'm going to rank him in the starting pitchers.
right, 100%.
yeah, I agree with that.
Where we want to put him, I think that's a really fun debate that we could have.
Right.
I think we should. I mean, we have so many episodes we have to do, especially because we don't know what the teams look like because free agency and trades, where we can like just do starting pitchers for an entire episode,
Yeah.
and like we'll rank players, so just like in general, and then we'll throw like I'd throw Teoscar in there. I definitely, I might rank Shohei in there, but I ain't rank Teoscar Hernandez. If I were gonna put him in the outfield, it would probably be in this like 12 to 16, 17 range. So.
Yeah.
Completely fair ranking.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, what were your thoughts on Teoscar Hernandez and who's your number 12 outfielder too?
My number 12 is Brian Reynolds.
Okay.
I think Brian Reynolds, like Cole said, had a horrible pandemic season, but he hit 302, 24 homers, 90 RBIs this past year. Like I said, arguably the lone bright spot for the Pirates this past year after Stallings was dealt, especially with Brian Hayes being injured throughout the season. So Brian Reynolds is on my list at 12, and I think he's only going to get better. And I think he's going to be a name that a lot of teams are going to be calling the Pirates about this upcoming season when it comes to trade deadline season.
Yeah, they're just going to hang up the phone because he's the future of Pittsburgh.
If they were smart, they'd hang up the phone.
Right.
Yeah, which is a good point because
the
they
Pirates
are not smart. So
No, they are not.
good point, Ryan.
They love developing talent and shelling it out.
Exactly.
There's just so many guys.
For peanuts.
There's so many guys in this league that are just developed there and turn into studs.
They develop players very well, but they do not let them stay on their team to get a competitor because they're like, hey, we can get huge hauls for him. And then it's just a revolving cycle of, hey, we got another top guy, sell him as well.
Yeah. My number 12 is another guy that I think you guys probably ranked a little bit higher than me. It's Nick Castellanos, current free agent outfielder. The bat speaks for itself. That's why he's on here. However, he was the worst graded defensive right fielder in baseball last year.
Yes.
He is probably going to be a DH going forward, but he's only played outfield.
Should be.
Yes, he should be.
Yeah, he should be a DH.
He rakes. He's also taken a little bit of advantage of the Cincinnati ballpark, but he rakes, he walks. He doesn't strike out too much. He doesn't chase. Castellanos is a stud. I got him at 12. A higher ranking is definitely warranted because he's a beast.
Yeah.
Cole, let's toss it over to you. Who is your number 11 outfielder?
This is where I have Yelich.
Okay.
So again, I went back and forth. I was like, do I really include him on this list? Like, I mean, has this drop in performance over the last 2 years that has mirrored that of Bellinger's? Like you said, Dom, not as severe, nowhere close. But has it, is it warranted to keep him off the list? Now it's like, well, if I'm gonna keep Bellinger on it, then I got to keep Yelich on it.
Right.
And I mean, look, 2019 in and of itself, 2 years later, is such a ridiculous season. He got hurt in the final month and finished with those numbers. Like, are you kidding me?
50-30, right?
I mean, yeah, it was 44-30.
I
I mean, there was,
but still really good.
I
Yeah.
mean, I remember there.
Insane.
I remember there was a point where people were saying he could go 50-50.
Yeah.
Like, I remember that was a legitimate conversation.
That was there were talks about that with Tatis this year, and then he went down, and I'm like, all right.
See, it's when people start talking about 50-30, 50-50.
Yeah.
Let's
It's when
just
the injuries really start coming
And
in.
then
let's make a pact to not talk about each other's players getting 50-50. or
Oh, I'm going to
50-30.
make sure to do that for Machado. I won't do it for Tatis.
well, joke's on you. Machado doesn't even run that well. So,
Machado doesn't hustle. Machado doesn't hustle.
Jesus.
anyway, Yelich, the one thing you got to give him credit for over the last couple of years is he still found his way on base. 356.
Yes.
I mean, look, OBP does not tell the whole story. It's actually very flawed if you think about it. But 356 in 2020 with a 205 average, and in this past year at 362 with a 248, like that's hard to ignore.
Yes.
That's good. That's how you know set apart the good hitters from the great hitters is the guys who still find ways on base even when they're struggling. And he's just one of those guys. He has a knack for knowing his zone. He's still a very respected hitter.
Yes.
That's why he gets walked so much.
Right. I was about to bring up that exact point. He's kind of on the Harper route. You know,
Exactly.
he got into the league his first couple of years. He played good. Harper was a little bit better than Yelich.
Right.
Has just an insane MVP season.
Mhm.
And then pitchers just stop pitching to him, and then his
Yeah.
offensive numbers
Right.
go back towards average. And then Bryce Harper just won.
Yeah, exactly. Look
just
where
won
Harper's ended up.
MVP.
I have
Yeah,
I have no doubt Yelich is going to rise. Granted, I
Here,
don't
just
know-
rebound. Just
Yeah,
rebound.
just rebound.
Yeah.
Granted,
I agree.
maybe not to the same level he was in 2018 and 2019, but he's a great hitter.
He is.
And he deserves to be on this list.
Ryan, you're number 11.
Christian Yelich.
Okay.
All
Yep,
right.
that's where I have Yelich.
Cool.
Nice. So we got some uniformity there.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to name a player that we haven't yet named, center fielder for the New York Mets now, Starling Marte.
All right.
Marte,
Oh, I hate that.
you hate it. Do you think he should be
Why?
higher?
No, not Marte. I hate that he's a Met.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah.
I should have clarified. I hate that he's a
What?
Met.
Jeez.
You know what? There's one thing I've learned from college is that Michael Garaffa has made me hate the Mets nearly as much as I hate some of the AL Central teams.
I mean, there's just no way that one human can make you do that.
Be on a show with him for 3 years.
Well, I mean,
Fair point.
how does one person being passionate about a team make them hate you
No,
or hate them?
it's the delusion in that man that just
I
makes me hate them.
I mean, yeah, Mets fans are pretty delusional. I mean, like this is well regarded,
Oh,
but
like I said, Mets fans
Nothing new.
are the MLB version of Cowboys fans. I've said it for a long time.
okay. I mean, that's just I think that's a really bad comparison, but I see where you're coming from. Starling Marte, beast in the field, finally displayed some power. I mean, God, he got out of Miami and was so good,
Yeah.
and everyone realized it. I mean, he was even in Oakland and still raking. So,
Right.
also was just a stolen base machine.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Led the league in stolen bases. I think Marte deserves to be on here. I wouldn't be surprised if he climbs, but age is getting up there. I'm not sure how much longer he's going to be on this list. I give him the nod at 11. Ryan, going to throw it to you this time. Who's your number 10? Now in the top 10.
Teoscar Hernandez.
Okay.
Right.
All right. so
He
you
is
did-
slept on that team because you got guys like Boba Fett and Vladdy.
Yeah.
That's why. Teoscar Hernandez quietly has those MVP style seasons, like you guys said, and he has become a staple in that lineup. He is consistently up there in RBIs, hits. He's good at what his job is for that team. He doesn't need to be the star power hitter. He does his job getting guys in and still being a top tier hitter as well. So I have him at 10. Only reason I don't have him higher is probably because his glove isn't the best and he's been transitioned a little bit more to DH.
All right.
And yeah, I actually had to sort of revisit this one because I was like, is he worthy of being top 10? Is he not? This guy, look, he's a hitter's hitter. Each of the last 3 years, he's hit over 300. I mean, the combined average has been 310 with an 841 OPS. You know, he's not going to hit for power. He's not the greatest defensively anymore. I don't think he ever really was. But this guy is into his mid-30s and he's still hitting like this. Even after the whole, I mean, he wasn't with the 2017 Astros, but since joining the Astros, it's clear that he hasn't lost his stride at all as a hitter. And, he hits for extra bases. He's got a little bit of pop. He's been pretty solid for them in the postseason as well. That's critical. And I think he's another guy who, at his age, kind of like Marte, I don't see how long he can really hang on this list for. But if he keeps hitting 311, 300, 311 like he has the last 3 years, I mean, you can't argue with that.
No, I'm glad you put him in there because I did not put him in my top 15.
Mhm. I can see how you wouldn't.
Because I mean he doesn't get a ton of like home runs.
No.
His defense isn't what it was. He's still a really good player. He just missed out on my top 15
Yeah.
outfielders.
Yeah.
But I'm glad you put him in there.
That name haunts me. That name just haunts me from when he was with the Indians, now Guardians. He tore the
save.
Royals apart. That name will always haunt me forever. That name and Sin Soo Choo. That man,
Oh,
Legend.
God,
That's got to be our first
hated
Sin
all
Chu
time.
reference in Golden
I
Sombrero.
Yeah.
hated him because every time you just knew he was going to at least hit one homer in the series against the Royals. You just
Yeah.
knew it.
Is
Yeah.
Brantley in your top 15?
Yeah.
He is? Okay.
Good.
Brantley's top 15.
All right. I did not, but completely respect you guys for
Yeah,
doing
exactly. Yeah, like I said, this is such like outfield as a contingent is loaded.
it. Right.
There's like 20 other guys who you could interchange on any given day of the week.
Yeah.
You know, they don't even have to be playing. You can just feel a certain way and be like, oh, I think, I don't know, Mitch Haniger is number 5. You know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
there's so many guys.
My number 10, it's going to be Byron Buxton.
Alright.
This
Okay.
is
Okay.
where I have
Okay.
Buxton. You guys know how I feel about injuries.
Fair.
I mean, when this guy's on the field, he's an elite outfielder.
Yeah.
There's
Yes,
no
he
way
is.
around it. Some of the guys are in front of him because they do play a little bit more. I mean, that's the reality of it. He's probably one of, if not the best, defensive center fielders in the game.
Mhm.
He has elite power now. He can steal bases. He can get extra base hits. I mean,
Does it all.
he really does.
Yeah.
He's basically the outfield version of Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
that's what it comes down
That's
to. Why do you say that?
I just love how that name always comes up. I just
Well, I
love
mean,
it.
he's really good. My brother
Yeah.
texted me when I sent
Yeah.
our family the show and asked me if I put
He's-
Tatis in the
He's just a
outfield.
dynamic and polarizing player.
Yeah. No, I agree with the take.
There's nothing
It's
else to it.
it's a comparable take.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna flip over and then do my number 9. I'm gonna also name a player that we haven't mentioned yet. Cole, I know you ranked him at second base. I'm gonna
Okay.
put Cartel Marte
All right.
here as my number 9 outfielder.
Well, I'm glad he's
Okay.
top 10 somewhere.
We're
I had trouble with that last week. I put him at second base.
yeah.
Hey, I did too. So
So that one was very tough.
Cattell Rakes, he lives in my nightmares, and that's all I'll leave it at. Cattell Marte is my number 9. Cole, who's your number 9 outfielder?
Starling Marte.
Okay, all right.
This is where I have Starling Marte for all the you guys previously mentioned. He's into his what is he? He's 32 now. You know, at that age, you start to see sort of a regression in production, particularly on the base paths. No, this past year he stole 47 backs. That's big time. And you know, not only that, but he hits for power, he hits for average. He plays pretty good defense out in center field. He patrols it well. He's an athlete. He does it all. He's been doing it since 2012. So yeah, he's number 9.
Ryan.
All right, for me at 9, that's where I put Michael Brantley. The guy just gets on base.
Yep.
He
He
is
rakes.
arguably
I hate that I left him off.
one-
Oh,
he's
It's all
not
right.
arguably he's
Not
one of
gonna
the best
sleep well tonight.
contact hitters in baseball.
Yeah.
He is so good at getting on base. And you know what? I don't care that he doesn't have that much power because he will just kill you with the doubles, the singles, and his ability to just get on base.
He's a classic hitter.
Yes,
He just
he is.
hits.
And yeah, his defense, like you said, Dom, isn't what it once was. But man, the bat still warrants him being there.
yeah. All right, I like that. Cole, gonna flip it around to you. Who is your number 8 outfielder?
This is where I have Castellanos.
Okay.
And you kind of mentioned it before. Defense is suspect, but he's like the Xander Bogaerts of the outfield.
Yeah.
His bat is worthy of alone of being in there. He's a stud.
That's a great comparison.
Yeah.
I was about to make that comparison.
He's 25 plus homers, 100 plus RBI guy, high 290s to 300s hitter. He's going to slug for a high amount. He's going to get probably 35 to maybe even 50 doubles in a year. He's just ridiculous. And the OPS plus is there, 136 this past season. Yeah, I mean, he's just a dude. I mean, he swings the bat really well, and he's perfect for that ballpark.
I also have Castellanos at 8.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I'm going to make another comparison. Kind of reminds me of Devers a little bit. Not good defensively, can rake like
Mhm.
crazy. Though.
That Red Sox left side of the infield,
They're very good.
yeah.
Yes, very good. But Castellanos, yeah, the defense is suspect at best. But man,
It's not even suspect, Ryan.
It's bad.
It's really bad.
There's-
it's really bad.
There's pitchers you could put out there.
Yeah, he's a horrible defender.
Shout out Joe Musgrove.
But
Yeah.
You don't want to face the guy. You just don't.
No.
No.
The hitting is what gets him there, and it's warranted, like you
Yeah,
both said.
He's nuts.
My number 8 outfielder, George Springer.
All right.
This guy, he's just the model of consistency.
Yes.
He hits bombs, he gets on base, he plays good defense in center field. Who knows how much longer he's going to be out in center field? I imagine he probably gets moved to right or left in a couple of years.
Yeah.
But he rakes. I have him at number 8. What do you guys think of that?
I'm not going to lie to you guys.
Did you forget about George Springer?
Oh, come on, Ryan.
No, I did not.
Okay, well then,
Well, that's
what
good.
were you gonna say? I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
He's way higher.
No,
You
He's what?
I just realized something.
What?
you left him off. Like
No, I left Starling Marte off my list.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
That's the one I left off. I knew I was leaving someone off. It was Starling Marte,
I mean, it's hard with
Yeah.
outfielders because there's so many
Yeah.
good ones. Like
and that's the
Coleman.
thing.
There's
But
like-
no, Springer is on my list.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna turn it around. I'm gonna talk about a guy that you guys had a little bit lower, Brian Reynolds. I have him here.
Okay.
I think Reynolds is legit. Switch hitter, plays great defense.
Yeah.
Contact hitter, also has power. I think he's the future in Pittsburgh. They are stupid if they trade him.
Yeah.
They should
Well,
lock him up.
Look at that franchise.
Right, I know, Ryan. I know. Let's toss it back to Cole. Number 7.
I have George Springer here,
Okay.
and for really all the reasons you said. I mean, there's nothing much else to say. But let's look at the OPS plus, shall we? In
Yeah.
8 seasons, his career OPS plus is 132. There are
So
Hall
good.
of Famers that don't have that high of an OPS
No,
in their career.
He's so good.
Granted, it's 8 seasons. He has probably a lot more to go, but holy cow. In each of the last 3 seasons, how about 2019, 150, 2020, 141, 2021, where
Ridiculous.
he played 78 games and still somehow hit 22 homers with a 143 OPS plus. He's nuts.
It's crazy. I also have him at 7.
Okay.
I just think it's crazy.
Ryan's
How he's
list seems a
cons-
lot like mine.
I'm shocked because like I felt like when I put Springer there, I'm like I feel like I'm gonna put him higher than everyone else, but
You know,
I
I actually,
actually had him on the
trouble with
lowest.
that. I had a lot of trouble with it just because of injuries last year, but just the numbers themselves state it all.
I knew he was top 10. I kind of knew that.
Yeah.
I was like, it's where he falls within the top 10. Is he top 5? I knew he was top 10, but I think 7 is it's right in the middle, like right where he should be.
right.
Yeah, I agree.
Not quite top 5, definitely not out of the top 10.
Ryan, gonna make you turn around. Who's number 6?
You're going to give me a ton of flack for this.
Who?
Aaron Judge.
Oh, I hate you.
Aaron Judge is 6. And you know what? He had a terrific season last year. MVP caliber type season. He was terrific. I need more of it. I need more consistency from Aaron Judge.
What consistency? He is the model of consistency.
I need consistency in health.
yeah, there
need
you
to
go.
be better
There it is. There it is.
with
there it
being
is,
more specific. Consistency in health.
What is his
Yeah.
name?
If the man
the dude plays
can be healthy-
159. I need more. I need more.
If the man can be healthy and consistently on the field, he is easily a top 5 outfielder. That is why I do not have him top 5 yet. What he does when he's on the field is exceptional, and he is a cornerstone of the Yankees, but I need him on the field more. And you saw that last year, and look what he did. Do it again, Aaron Judge. Stay healthy.
All right, Cole. Please don't disappoint me with your number 6.
Acuna.
Okay.
So
Dude, I mean that honestly, Acuna is weird. I'll let you talk about it. Acuna's numbers like they differ from like the player that he's been.
there's I mean it depends on the stats you're looking at too. Counting stats, peg him as a pretty as a
god. As a god.
pretty
I mean-
elite hitter, yeah. But I mean, you look in depth a little more, and it becomes a little bit more misleading. Regardless, I mean, just as the athlete he is, and just his personality is up there. I mean, there were moments where I was debating potentially putting him top 3. He's been that solid. If he did not get hurt, if he didn't get hurt this past year, I think he wins MVP.
was
I'll
looking
keep
like
my
it.
prediction for that.
Yeah, personally, I think that's probably how it would have shaped out.
Yeah.
And his defense has gotten a lot better too. He's starting to refine his abilities out there. Not to mention, this guy's going to swipe bags too. He's just a really just exciting player. He embodies everything that the future of the game is and should be. And I mean, just from an excitement factor alone, he deserves to be top 10, and he's number 6.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I like your ranking of Acuna there. There's a very clear like top 6 outfielders. Springer's
I agree.
right outside there.
I agree.
We're gonna have the same top 6. It's just the order of them.
Yeah.
I don't understand how I put Harper here at number 6, but I did.
Oh,
He just
Okay.
won MVP, but
I
like,
understand that.
all right.
but like these 6 outfielders are so darn good.
Yeah.
And like there's number 1 obviously, and I think there's a pretty clear number 2. And then after that, like there's 4 guys. You can put them in any order.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
put Harper here. I mean, his years leading up to 2020 had been inconsistent. As a Philly, he's been so good. Like
Yeah.
it's been incredible.
Mhm.
But I have Harper here at 6, and then I have Acuna at 5. And Acuna at
Yeah.
5 is just it feels so criminal because he's one of the funnest players in the league. Ryan's obviously going to be the Acuna champ. He's going to have him higher than us,
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
which is completely fine
No,
because
Yes,
like
I am.
It's valid. Like I said, I wanted to put him top 3.
I almost put him top 3. I almost did.
well, Ryan, did you give your 6? I don't think you did.
Yeah, I did.
What was your 6?
Oh, you
Oh,
said
it's
Judge,
I said
right?
Judge.
Right.
I said Judge, and
I
you
forgot
were
to. It
contemplating
was
coming
such an
over here and
egregious
slapping me.
take
No.
that I just immediately erased it from my mind.
No, I
I'm
mean it
just
wasn't that egregious
No, I'm-
because
yeah.
there's the top 6. If you had him lower than 6,
No,
oh,
no. I'm not going to have him outside the top
Right.
6 by any means.
Who's your 5?
My 5, Bryce Harper.
Okay.
And I know he just won MVP, and it's crazy to think that. But just think
Bizarre.
of the talent of that 6. And, man, it feels wrong, like you said, Dom, to put someone like Harper here. But the guys ahead of him, for me, they just are more complete than him somehow, you know?
Cool. 5.
So this 5 is where I have Judge. And again, I'm not going to be one to punish the whole injury thing. But as an all-around baseball player, you know, when you talk about value to a ball club, the Yankees, I think, are quite literally nothing without Aaron Judge on the field. And if that doesn't speak to value, I don't know what does. His pattern in health has almost, if you look at it, mirrored the Yankees' like success and failure.
Yeah.
When he's not on the field, they're just a significantly worse baseball team.
And Stan. I have to put in the value Stan, too.
No, absolutely. But
Yeah.
I mean, just
But no, you definitely have a valid point
Yeah.
there.
in right field with his arm as a defender at the plate,
Yeah.
he's great.
Yeah. Cole, give us your number 4.
So this is where I have Harper.
Okay.
Yeah, like you said, interchangeable kind of top 6, but it's pretty clear cut. MVP award winner this past year, I think, was enough to warrant him a top 5 for me. You know, the 615 slugging percentage, the 179 OPS plus. Oh, and if you like WRC plus, if you're in that deep, he was tops of everyone in baseball in that category as well. He does everything as a hitter so darn well. He walks, he controls the strike zone, he hits for power, he gets on. I mean, he just does everything. He's covered his bases really ever since he's came into the league, and he's only refined it ever since. So he's number 4.
My number 4 is Mookie Betts. You guys know how much I love Mookie Betts and how much I hate that he's a Dodger. He had a rough year, especially health-wise, and it definitely affected his play.
Yeah.
I still have him at 4. I don't think people understand like how elite he is defensively. I know you guys do, but a lot of people don't. And
They overlook it.
I feel bad for them because he's so fun to watch out there. Unless if you're a Padres fan and Tommy Pham,
If he was on the
right center field,
if he was on the infield and played the same kind of defense that he does in the outfield, he would be up there. I mean,
he
would
did play some second base this year.
Yeah, he would be up there with Arenado.
Yeah,
as a defender.
Who has been the one all along that never underplays the value of defense? I've always said it, and it's because of my love for Alex Gordon. Let's just be honest there.
Right, and that's
But defense is so important.
It is.
My number 4 is Acuna.
Okay.
I have Acuna at 4. Do you want me to go 3?
Yeah, might as well.
I have Betts at 3.
Yeah.
Complete player. For such a smaller guy, the arm he has, the ability he has. When you think of a complete player and someone that's a franchise changer, that's Mookie Betts. And you can say that for all 6 of these guys too.
Cole, you number 3?
I have Betts here as well, for all the reasons you guys said.
I'm gonna rise here. No, I'm just kidding. But I have Aaron Judge here at 3. I mean, I've put him at this spot before last year, and I said he's gonna be healthy and he's gonna be a beast. That's exactly what happened. People are they finally realized, and I also think that the pinstripes on his jersey hinder people's vision of him. He's so good. You guys don't disrespect him, but a lot of people do. It's stupid.
Do you think I disrespect him with my ranking?
No, I mean you put him at 6, which I think's wrong, but you have him there with those guys.
Yes.
So that's
okay.
That's not
at
a
least,
problem.
At least
Right.
At least you're not hating on me yet.
No. My number 2, and I'm assuming he's also your guys' number 2, it's Juan Soto, the childish Bambino. I
Yep.
mean, this dude came into the league and was just a baller from
Yep.
day one.
Yeah.
He was the most disciplined player on a team that had Anthony Rendon, which is so mind-bogglingly numb. He was
Crazy to
also
think that.
he was also an elite defensive outfielder this year. Nobody talks about that because I mean they talk about his bat,
His
Right.
bat overplays everything, but
but
he is an
was
underrated outfielder
so good.
defensively.
You guys each have Soto.
I
at
have
2?
Soto at 2, and I'm just going to say this right now. This kid's 22 years old, and I already think he's going to be the greatest left-handed hitter of our generation.
I'm going to say something that may be a hot take.
Barry Bonds is not in our generation.
It is
Right.
no.
Good.
Um,
There you go.
I think in the next 3 or 4 years, Juan Soto will pass Mike Trout as the best player in baseball.
I agree. And
I don't think the
And I
gap.
don't know if it'll even take that long.
I don't think the gap where it stands right now is actually really that
Oh,
far.
I nearly put him 1 because
Yeah.
the gap is right there.
And you mentioned it. Trout's our number 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have 15 seconds before we got to get out. So this was fun. Next week we're gonna come back with some pitchers and catchers. Ryan can talk about Salvador Perez. But we think.
Do you want another rant?
No.
Let's be careful what you wish for.
I mean, no, we're gonna talk about it. We thank you all for tuning into the Golden Sombrero Show on BlazeRadioOnline.com. On behalf of Cole Bradley and Ryan Blank, I'm Dominic Stern. Thank you all for listening.